The late Zinatha Secretary General, Dr. Peter Sibanda, once challenged scientists on lightning during a Harare Symposium on lightning. Is it possible that he was just bluffing because nobody stood up when he challenged them if they doubted that he can blast anybody with lightning? He was holding two items in his hands. We know and we have read stories of who threatened to strike police that had come to arrest him because he was growing a herb that the Europeans had said people should not have, mbanje or marijuana. And they ran away. And that there are people that sell lightning, and that there are people that are known to send lightning against their enemies. What are your historical links to witchcraft? Or you think you don't have? If you don't understand the origin and nature of magic, if you do not believe that witches can direct your life today, and if you trust science that it is not validated or proved with empirical evidence that there is witchcraft, you might be suppressing your potential for being a witch, because the origins of witchcraft is not the nature of magic. It is from the spirit and the matter that we must, at the end of the day, understand witchcraft or magic. We know and we accept that this has not been tackled from that angle, but if you read our book, Free from God, Chapter 12, it will tell you that the gods lived on the earth after creating the universe and matter. And there is a god there, Nyunyu, so-called Nu by the Greeks, who is the oldest god or one of the oldest deities in African mythology, who represents the primordial waters from which all life came from and emerged. Nyunyu is the central figure in the creation story, and his or she or its existence predates the emergence of all other major gods and goddesses in the African pantheon. However, it is worth noting that in KhamitHEtic mythology, there is nothing that is linearity but cyclical. It is challenging and very difficult to be in the knowledge of the exact chronology of the gods and their emergency. But where did the spirit and matter come from? If you want to delve deeper in this subject, you can read our book Free from God, which you can get from Amazon. Leave us a comment and a review which will help others to understand something about it. According to widespread knowledge, Atum, Atema, which is our color, melanin dominant human beings, the deity of creation in KhamitHEtic mythology, his role was later taken over by Ra, who became ruler of humans. They all emerged from the waters of Nyunyu. Besides being responsible for Atum's creation, Nyunyu was also associated with the emergence of Apep or Apaipa or Ububi, the adversary who opposes everything else that is positive. How he emerged there is because the feminine power of Naite, the mother of all the gods, spat into the abysmal or waters of Nyunyu. And then you should not wonder why women have the potential for being highly spiritual, either in error or in correct or righteous manner. Before Christianity, Judaism and Islam, the term witch referred to an individual, usually a woman, who was believed to be possessed with supernatural powers and abilities. These abilities were often associated with manipulating natural forces or spirits and performing magical rituals. Witches were considered to have profound connection with nature, and their practices were rooted in ancient primordial traditions and animistic beliefs. It is very clear, therefore, that once we understand this much, law and explanation of witchcraft comes from Europe, and Europeans never understood that good and evil are mixed, are one continuum. And then they crafted Satan as a separate entity. Evil is within each and every created entity. It is very clear that witchcraft is an aspect of magic. It is integral to many cultural and religious practices, even today as we speak. Of course, they have added a lot of technology into it. But it was practiced by Africans, by Celts, and by Mesopotamians. And it was diverse from region to region. But the primordial connection, or the common thread, was the belief of the existence of a magical power or a supernatural power in everything that is on the earth. So you have a historical link to witchcraft yourself. Everyone is a potential witch. And the magic means wisdom. In a historical context, the term magus, this is where the Greek got their word magic. It is associated with wisdom. The magi was a priest of knowledgeable power and understanding of the forces of nature. And they were highly respected for their ability to interact with the natural world, metaphysical concepts, and religious teachings. This is the link for your historical ability to be a witch. And everyone is a potential witch as long as they delve and understand higher truths. And they know spirit and matter. Not spirit or matter, but spirit and matter. This is the definition of a witch. Someone who understands the difference between spirit and nature and how to use that power. You go to this irishmatch.com, they explain witchcraft versus sorcery, where they say these two differ in how they get their power. Usually witches possess innate power or magic, whereas sorcerers have to borrow their magic from outside sources. In other words, they use technology, they use other people. They themselves have no power. They invite spirits. These are differences of witchcraft and sorcery, but they are all part and parcel of magic. Which is directing your life. What is a modern witch? A modern witch is the one who practices magic, especially for evil purposes, and they normally use spells or chants or other sympathetic tools. How did this happen? And so the gods will depart from mankind. A grievous thing, and only evil angels will remain, who will mingle with men and drive the poor wretches into all manner of reckless crime, into wars and robberies and frauds and all things hostile to the nature of the soul. This is from the Hermetica, written by KhamitHEthics. So it already indicates that the evil angels were already on the earth with the good deities. And the good deities would protect humanity and other natural objects from the abuse by the evil angels. And then the gods left the whole earth in the hands of the melanin dominant royalty, who failed to maintain Mahati and allowed Isfet to dominate. That's how these evil angels are now possessing and using other human beings to use knowledge negatively. In chapter 13 of the book, Free from God, Unveiling Spirituality That Breeds Wisdom, you read a lot about the creation of matter. Remember, I said matter and spirit. In essence, matter is composed of atoms, atema, a divinity, a god, particles of the god atema, which serve as matter's fundamental building blocks. For instance, hydrogen comprises a single atom with a positive proton and electron and are bound together. These particles come together and vibrate, giving rise to waves. You go into the book Free from God, it will show you and demonstrate these particle-like and wave-like behaviors and how they cross the interdimensional and intradimensional barriers and are used, and they dwell inside an individual, because a human being is an aerial. That's why the gods have all this, proving that a human being is an aerial who interacts with dimensions. So the God initiated the self-generation of the gods and the principles or laws that we find in life and in nature. Let's look at this from a perspective of creation. In Mythology, we read a description of how the god created. We know of Ptah, who created humans using the strength of his heart and speech. In the Mythology text, Utterance 5:27, a tomb created by his heart and brought forth by his tongue, the Enid and the septet of God. In the coffin text again, the god Shu proclaims, I speak and my words become reality. Similarly, the god Kunun or Kamunu declares, my words are creative. And these are the gods that created human beings. So your words are power. The practice of magic, especially for evil purposes, and the use of spells or words is right inside you. Your wishes, your desires, your statements, all are power. Witches are directing your life today. If you do not know that words are powerful spells, words cast spells. That's why it is called spelling. Words are energy. Use them wisely. History is his story. Whoever has written that history, it's his story. He can write his story about Africans and he's not an African. When you say bless, bless them, I'm blessed, it means be blessed. Spelling is small spells. Gospel is God spells. Mourning, it means mourning. You are crying. Here is a tip. Lightning storms are periods of intense natural energy. All spells cast during them will be empowered by them and prove to be more effective. Protection rituals are ideal at this time. Here are the reasons why everyone is potentially practicing witchcraft. Unfortunately, millions are unaware that they have this massive potential within them. Some common reasons why you would be practicing witchcraft with difference is that you must know or you won't know. If you do not know, you are a passive witch. And if you know, you are an active witch, whether you use that awareness positively or negatively. This phrase, as above, so below, suggests the deep interconnectedness and unity we all have with the universe and the gods. This understanding activates principles that are already operating and already lying inside you as a potential, because you were created by the gods and the gods gave you the keys in the form of the ankh inside you, because you are a part of a holographic point, an aerial in the maze of the waters of Nyunyu. Think of the waves and frequencies and the vibrations. This is demonstrated in our book, which you can get from Amazon. If you are using your awareness for good, you are slaying the evil within you, and you are a good witch. That's clear. You are a good magician, a wise one. Before we go and look at the benefits of being a good witch, we want to demonstrate those that are using their knowledge of spirit and matter negatively. They cast misfortune using ill wishes, spells, thoughts, prayers, goblins, ghosts against their own children, their relatives, and the neighbors. And they hate their race because they don't attack the enemy, they attack their own. Whether they use voodoo, whether they use Santeria, whether they use Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, they are proving that they are abusing their awareness of their inner potential. There are secret societies and organizations that purely are there to hate human beings, and they abuse their awareness of their inner potential, and they are working with the negative forces that were led by the god Apophis. As we read in the Hermetica, it says all the voices of the gods will be forced into silence, the fruits of the earth will rot, the soil will turn barren, and the very air will sicken with sullen stagnation. That's negativity. All things will be disordered, and only all good will disappear. It's happening today. It's happening today with all religions that we see. Here are the other signs that you are working as a witch against your own people. If you follow religions like Islam, if you read books like the Quran, the Bible, and believe them, and believe the things that they, and repeat the words that are there, the religions that enslaved you and colonized you and sodomized your ancestors, and they committed genocide and still continue to see you as an abid, as a slave, you are bewitching yourself. If you follow religions that teaches you to eat human flesh or divine flesh and drink divine blood, thinking that you are drinking God and eating God's flesh, you are a witch and you are bewitching your own race. If you do not know that the word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakia, which translates to witchcraft or sorceries, you are also bewitching your own race. You are not being healed. You are using magic and witchcraft negatively. They are herbs. Why should everyone practice good magic or good witchcraft? For personal empowerment and identity restoration, for the restoration of our ancestral and cultural heritage, to deepen our knowledge and wisdom, to perform positive rituals and celebrations that expands our consciousness, to cast spells and be able to assemble altars as defense against the evil angels that are here on the earth. Because this is nature-based, it's a spirituality. You either follow witchcraft or you all follow science. Witchcraft foretells science and is ahead. Science has limits because science cannot measure anything that is beyond its paradigms, framework, and tools. Science depends on objectivity, whilst we are a subjective entity who depends on our own inner understanding. Your historical link to witchcraft and everyone is a potential witch was understood by Dr. Peter Sibanda, who demonstrated the efficacy of witchcraft. Even scientists and their controlled studies and those who were present never challenged him. You have the potential to consistently use the existence of magical powers, which you are given because of being born in the flesh and because of being in matter. You have a spirit. Do not fail to dial your frequency to the correct channel so that you can potentially be in tune with the correct frequency of life cosmically. Yes, there is a way. If you want to understand more of these subjects, please send us an email, join@marifado.com. Subscribe to our channel, KhamitHEthics. And this is your manager to be Priest Rabbi LM Tumizulu Kunikene Mjaganja saying, till we meet again, remember to desire and to also practice good witchcraft, good magic. Tatenda, Siabonga, Enkos, Edupe, Asante Sana.